today's the day. You get up, you either do it or you don't. And excuses are excuses, but you either do it or you don't. Because we live in a tough world. There's always a way to get something done. There's always a reason to perform, and there's always an excuse. You get to choose. I mean, there's a lot of great excuses. Hey, you're talking to a blind guy. I write books I can't read that are turned into movies I can't watch. I get it. Life's not easy. But at some point, you either do or you don't. You either got the ball in the end zone or you didn't. I mean, at the end of the day, they put the score on the big scoreboard, and it doesn't say it was tough, it was easy, whatever. You either did or you didn't. And so you get to that point, and it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, the pressure, the things around you, they really don't matter. And of course, you got to feed your mind. That's why the early morning, the motivation, the inspiration, having your quiet time, doing the things you need to do so you're prepared for that. You just can't watch the regular network news and talk to 19 out of 20 negative people in the world and think you're going to be mentally prepared. You're not. You've got to feed your mind with the pure and the powerful and the positive things, and then you can go do whatever you need to do.
You could be anywhere doing a lot of different things, but you chose to be here.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. In a world filled with endless opportunities, why would two men who have built 13 multi-million-dollar businesses altruistically invest 5 hours per day to teach you the best practice business systems and moves that you can use? Because they believe in you, and they have a lot of time on their hands. They started from the bottom, now they're here. It's the Thrivetime show starring the former U.S. Small Business Administration's Entrepreneur of the Year, Clay Clark, and the entrepreneur trapped inside an optometrist's body, Dr. Robert Zuckner. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses.
We started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, now we're here.
Mr. Clyde started from the bottom, and now we're at the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks. I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of 5, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the CNC up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, we are interviewing the man, the myth, the legend, a man who went blind before finding his vision for an incredibly prosperous life, the best-selling author, the movie producer, the entrepreneur, the living legend, a man who really makes Tulsa possible, Jim Stovall. Welcome onto the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
I am great, and it's wonderful to be with you, my friend.
So first off, for anybody who doesn't know you, people that are going to look you up online, where's the best place for people to go to really find your story or maybe your website? Where can people go to look you up during today's broadcast?
Well, it's really complicated and complex. You go to Jim Stovall, Stovall, JimStovall.com, and you can probably find more there than you want to know about me.
So there's somebody out there that says, Clay, I mean, Jim doesn't sound blind. Jim, how blind are you? I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 is like, wow, man, this guy is really blind, or 1 is, a little bit of blindness, how blind are you?
I have been totally blind. I'm in the dark for the last 35 years. And I was diagnosed when I was 17, and I was legally blind. And then throughout my 20s, I lost the remainder of my vision. And at age 29, I woke up one morning, and it has been totally dark since. And as you said, I somehow in the process of losing my sight, I captured a vision of who I could be, and the world has been great. I whenever I talk about the blindness, which is not very often, I always hasten to tell people I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I don't know anybody I'd trade places with. And sight's a wonderful thing. It's very convenient. It tells you where you are and what's around you. But vision tells you where you could be and what's possible. And people without sight can function. People without vision perish. So I feel very fortunate.
Now, one of the things about you, and I want to get into really learning some practical wisdom from you, but before I do, I just want people to understand your background. I mean, you have been a guy who's made movies, very successful movies, distributed by 20th Century Fox. You've been a best-selling author multiple times over. You've been celebrated by Steve Forbes. I mean, Steve Forbes, you know, the guy who runs Forbes magazine, has praised you. You've won international humanitarian awards. I mean, your life is truly epic. But again, you're blind, and I'm just dwelling on that because there's somebody out there that says, well, I don't have time to write a book, and I don't even know how to write a book. I mean, for my website, I'd have to write 1,000 words of content on my homepage to make my website rank in search results. Jim, I don't know that I can write 1,000 words of content. Meanwhile, you as a blind man are writing best-selling books. I got to ask you, how did you become a best-selling author when you can't see?
Well, as quickly as I can. As a young man, my only goal was to play football. I thought I could make my living in the NFL on Sundays playing football, and then during a routine physical to go play another season of ball. I was diagnosed with a condition that would cause me to lose my sight, and a little quick research told me there were no blind guys in the NFL to this very day. Now, if you watch the preseason games, you would question that, but no blind guys in the NFL. And then at that time, I discovered Olympic weightlifting and became the national champion and got to finish my athletic career doing that. But in my 20s, then I lost my sight. And one of the things I got really frustrated about, I moved into this little 9 by 12 foot room in the back of my house. I thought I'd never leave. I'm totally blind. And before losing my sight, that was our TV room. And one day I put on an old Humphrey Bogart film. I love classic films, and I put on an old movie, and I thought, I've seen this so many times, even though I'm totally blind now, I'll be able to listen to this. And it worked for a while, but then I got really frustrated, and somebody shot somebody, and somebody screamed, and the car sped away, and I got really frustrated, and I said the magic words. I said, somebody ought to do something about that. And the next time you or anybody listening to us right now, the next time you get frustrated and say somebody ought to do something about that, you just had a great idea. And the whole world's praying for a great idea, and they trip over one about 3 times a week. And the only thing you got to do to have a great idea is wait for something bad to happen and say, how could I have avoided that? And the only thing you got to do to have a great business is ask one more question. How could I help other people avoid that? And I found out quickly there's 13 million blind and visually impaired people in America. TV and movies is the #1 recreational activity, and not to mention educational, socialization, and news. So I developed the Narrative Television Network, and we make movies and TV accessible to these 13 million people by adding an extra soundtrack. And now it's available on all the major networks, NBC, ABC, Fox, Turner, all the major networks, and all new first-run movies have the description or the narration available. And because of that, I won an Emmy Award our first year on national TV, and then I was asked to speak at the National Association of Broadcasters, and that led me into, right after that speech, several people came up to my assistant and said, can we get him to do our convention or arena event or whatever? And I found myself on a West Coast tour, sandwiched between Dr. Dennis Waitley and Dr. Robert Schuller of the Crystal Cathedral, and I was the middle part of our little triad there. And one day backstage, the two of them accosted me and suggested I should write a book. And I couldn't imagine it at that time. I thought, I can't read a book. Why should I write a book? It made no sense. But while I was out on stage, they conspired, and Schuller called his publisher over at Thomas Nelson, and Dr. Waitley agreed to write the foreword. And when I came off stage, they said, we need your manuscript in 90 days. And that's how I became a writer. And, out of that, I wrote, Success Secrets, and then I did a book with Donald Trump and Steve Forbes called Great American Success Stories. And then after I'd written 6 other books, they kept calling and wanting more books, and I'd written everything I knew and a few things I only kind of suspected. So I thought I better make something up. So I wrote a novel, and my first novel, The Ultimate Gift, I wrote it in 5 days in my office in between my meetings and phone calls. And the way I wrote it's the way millions and millions of people around the world read that book. And that was my first movie. And then since then, there have been 65 books, and we're working on our 10th movie right now. And, it just one thing led to another, led to another, led to another.
You've written 65 books. It's unbelievable. Now, for anybody out there who doesn't know this, I love to read. You love to read. I like to learn. You like to learn. I was on an airplane this weekend, and it occurred to me, I'm on an airplane. I don't want to be on the airplane.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't move around the cabin until we turn on the light. Boop.
So I'm on the airplane. People around me are wearing masks, hiding from a virus or a would-be virus, whatever they're doing on the plane. And so what I do is I escape and I read a book. So I pick up a book and I just read the book. And then people say, well, how do you read all these books? I just read the book. And then when I'm not watching the movie that they're showing on the airplane, I'm not watching the sporting event. I'm not scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or engaging in jackassery, online social media debates. According to Nielsen, the average American is spending 11.3 hours per day. Look it up, folks. The average American is spending 11.3 hours per day consuming media. You, my friend, though, you have a routine that is legendary for reading books to this day. Can you explain to the listeners out there, how do you go about consuming books? What is your daily book reading regimen? What is it like?
Well, I'm embarrassed to tell you and your audience that when I could read with my eyes like you and most of your listeners do, I don't know that I ever read a whole book cover to cover. It was not a priority in my life, and reading was something I didn't do when I wasn't at school. That was just academics, and that meant nothing to me. After losing my sight, though, I was part of a study that they did in Washington through the Department of Education with the new compressed digital audio that had just come out, and they wanted to see how fast people could listen to audio books and retain the information. So, after the experiment was over, I kept going, and I can listen to books at 4 and 5 multiples of the normal speed, sometimes 6, depending on some I've listened to before. And so given that, I read a whole book every day. There hasn't been a day in 30 years I haven't read a whole book. And, becoming a reader made me, I think, more interested in becoming a writer. And so I love books. I mean, books have changed my life. And, and I read all kinds of things. And, literary books, thrillers, science fiction, and then I read self-help, I read success books, I read a lot of biographies of people because I believe success leaves fingerprints, and all you got to do is follow the leader. And the greatest people that ever lived on this planet, their stories are written down. All you got to do is what they did.
Now, when you said succinctly and clearly, while enunciating in a way that's profoundly obvious, you just said that you read a book every day. And by read a book every day, I'm inferring that was not an allegory, an analogy, a metaphor. That means you read a book a day. Did you just say you read a book every day?
Yeah. I mean, the average audio book, is a 8, 9, 10-hour read. Some shorter, some a little longer. But if you can go at 4 or 5 times speed, it takes a couple hours a day to read a book. I get up every day at 4, and the audiobook's on while I'm doing my exercise and doing my things. And then while I'm at the office, in between, when I have moments, I snatch a few pages out of the book. And then in the evening, generally, while other people are, watching TV or whatever they're doing, I read my books. And I read a book every day.
And you said you wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and I know you do this, and you're one of the first people that I met that explained this to me. That you wake up early every day, and as on the Thrivetime show, as I've interviewed at this point thousands of multimillionaires and even billionaires, I'm constantly shocked by how profound it is that most successful people, not some, most, if not all, successful people wake up at least 2 hours before their work day starts. So they're working on themselves for at least 2 hours. 4 a.m., you hear that as a normal wake-up time, or 5 a.m. Could you please explain to me how you were able to get up at 4 a.m. and how, because many people say, I'm just not a morning guy. But yet the number one excuse I hear from many entrepreneurs that are striving to achieve success is they say, I can't find time to get it all done. But yet you wake up at 4. Can you maybe walk us through your mindset there, sir?
Well, I believe most people, you hear them lament, oh, if there were just more hours in the day. There are. They're while you're sleeping. And that's when there are more hours in the day. And I realize sleep is an important part of a health regimen. I get to bed fairly early, but at 4 I get up. But it's not. The alarm hasn't gone off in years. I get up a few minutes before 4 and start my day, and I'm excited about it. I used to do some work with a guy, and he was one of these guys could barely drag himself to work in the morning, and he was always tired and drug out and everything else like that. And he asked me one time, we were very young, we had a menial job, and he said, "You want to go fishing on the weekend?" I said, "Hey, that sounds good, man. Let's go fishing on the weekend." And he said, "Well, I like to go over to the Illinois River. I like to fly fish for trout, so we have to get up early." And I said, "How early?" He said, I'll be in your driveway at 3:30 in the morning, and then we'll be over there on the river before sunrise." I said, "Okay." So I did, and then I realized here's a guy that can't get up at 7 in the morning, 5 days a week to go do his job, but to stand in a freezing river before the sun comes up, he's up at 3 in the morning. And I think the idea of being excited and having passion and doing what you do, that's why you get up. I mean, what wears you out is not hard work. What wears you out is boredom and frustration, and that's what makes you tired. And I mean, in the morning, I'm excited. I can't wait to get to work and do what I do. I don't feel like I ever work because I get to do make-believe. I write books that are turned into movies. I run my company. I come up with ideas. I work with the kids at the Stovall Center for Entrepreneurship and get to be a part of all their dreams and ambitions. And so, I love it. It's like on vacation. I wake up every day, so I'm excited about it.
Now, I have a question about 3 of your books, and I'm going to bring on a couple of guests, Jim. These are people under the age of 30. I think they're 25, 23. I don't know how I think they were born yesterday. I'll bring them on the show so they can ask you some questions. They work in my office. They're great teammates, and I want to give them an opportunity to ask you some questions. But before I do that, I want to get into 3 of your books. You wrote this book called The Millionaire Map. And yeah. I read the book, and in the book, and maybe I'm getting my story wrong here because it's been a decade-ish, but you put your phone number in the book. And I thought, I'm going to call the number. So boop, 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 boop. And I called the number, and your wonderful assistant or secretary or teammate answered the phone with enthusiasm and professionalism. And I said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to Jim Stovall." Because at this point, I had read some of your other things in the past, and I was shocked that a phone number was in the book. And I thought, if I called the number, there's clearly no way I'm going to talk to Jim Stovall. And without a lot of bureaucracy, she set an appointment, and all of a sudden, I'm on the phone with you. And I started thinking, I wonder how many people actually call the number in the book and how many people actually read the books they buy. So I want to get your thoughts on this before we get into the content of the Millionaire Map. Why do you make yourself, semi-accessible to audiences as a public speaker, and even from time to time you may even put your phone number in a book?
Yeah, my phone number is in all my books, or the email address. You can always get a hold of me, and I have 10 million books in print among my 65 titles in 3 dozen languages, and in every one of those, you can get a hold of me, and our phones are answered round the clock, and I return every call. I respond to every email, always have, and surprisingly few people contact you. But I get 4 or 5 a day, probably, and some of them. I had a woman call just the other day from Auckland, New Zealand. I don't know what time you got to get up in Auckland, New Zealand to call me in the middle of the day here in America, but I answered the phone. They said, "Hey, lady, read your book in New Zealand." I said, "Well, good morning, good night, good evening, whatever it is to you." And she said, "Wow, I don't know what I want to talk to you about." I said, "Well, then why did you call?" She said, "I just wanted to see if you'd answer." And I always tell my audiences at the arena events, the book, the movie, the speech is not the end of our relationship. It's the beginning. And I will believe in their dreams and be there for them as long as they will. And if they don't think so, they can pick up the phone and dial 918-627-1000. And always have, always will, because it's not just a theory for me. It's not just about a book. It's about a message. And that's why, I did the Millionaire Map. And I shared some things in that book. It's interesting you bring up that book that are very uncomfortable. Because I remember the day I wrote, because there's so much garbage out there, Clay, about how to get rich or how to start a business. And, a lot of it's written by people that if it costs $10 to go around the world, they can't get out of town. And so I one day I was dictating my book to a wonderful, talented lady there. And I said, don't ever take advice from anybody that doesn't have what you want. Don't take directions from anybody that hasn't been where you want to go. And their personal business and their life is their business right up until they're asking you to invest your time, money, effort, or energy based on it. And then it becomes yours. Verify. Know who you're talking about. As the great Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. So I came home and I told Miss Crystal that we're 44 years on our way to forever together. I said, we're going to have to do something real uncomfortable here, because in our society, we don't talk about religion, sex, or money. In polite society, you don't talk about it. But I want my audience to know I'm not kidding. So I went to Bank of America and Merrill Lynch, and I said, I want you guys to do an audit, not on my businesses, the movies, the books, none of the other stuff, just the money I have invested in stocks and bonds that's cash equivalent. And I want a letter from you saying it's in excess of $10 million. How much more than that, we don't need to get into, but it's in excess of $10 million. And I want it on your letterhead so people can call you directly. And I'm not kidding. And I went to my publisher. I said, I want this in the book. And they did that. And that was the really important thing about that book. I wanted people to know, because there are people out there, Clay, that are purporting to tell people how to get rich. And these people don't have two nickels to rub together. And that's fine with me. I don't care if they want to live a life of poverty, but don't take away other people's money and dreams and effort and energy, on a bunch of garbage. If they knew how to do it, they'd have already done it.
Your book, Millionaire Map, The Millionaire Map, is profound. Anybody out there with a sound mind, I would encourage you to block out 6 or 7 hours. If you can see, if you're a seeing person, if you can read words on a page, I encourage you to block out 6 to 7 hours needed to read The Millionaire Map. Now, if you can't see, I'd recommend you get the audio version of the book, and maybe it takes you an hour or 2 or 3 to read the book. But I would encourage everybody to get the book, read the book, because I grew up without wealth, and so I had never seen wealth patterned. And I had just never seen what it was like to be around wealthy people until I started reading your books and then vicariously learning about how you did it. Until I started reading books like The Millionaire Next Door. Until I started reading books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Until I started hanging out with Dr. Robert Zellner. I remember, Jim, I'm a 20-year-old guy, and my wife's boss is Dr. Robert Zellner. My wife's boss. My wife is 20. My wife's boss was Dr. Robert Zellner. And I remember talking to Dr. Robert Zellner and basically begging him to let me spend time with him because I wanted a millionaire map. I wanted to know, what time should I wake up? Do you have a to-do list? What kind of pen do you take notes with? What books do you read? Do you watch shows? How do you greet people? How do you decide who you're going to hire? How do you decide who to fire? Do you fire flaky friends, or do you let marijuana smoking idiots, into your life freely? Do you spend time with everybody? In your book, The Millionaire Map is one of the most profound books I've read about the map, a compass to success. Anything else you want to share about the book, The Millionaire Map? Because I cannot endorse it enough there, sir.
Well, I talk to a lot of people and they want to be a millionaire, but you got to have a reason. And just accumulating $1 million won't do it for you. Who wants a bunch of dirty pieces of paper with pictures of dead presidents? I mean, that the $1 million, I always ask people, why do you want to be a millionaire? I mean, money is a means to an end. It's like filling up the car with gas. It's meaningless unless you have somewhere you want to go. And so, now when we can equate that money to, I want this house, or I'd like to send my kids to college, or I want to take care of my parents, or I want to start a foundation and give money away. And that's the one that really becomes significant. For the first part of my life, Crystal and I were poor. I'm not even sure we were poor. Poor people can't get that far in debt. We had to work a long time just to get to zero. And then we started from there. And I thought all the success was, Clay, was from going from poverty to prosperity. And I thought that was the whole journey. Only when I got to the top of that mountain and I had millions of dollars, did I realize, hold it, there's another mountain over there, right over there. And it's called purpose. And it's about going from poverty to prosperity to purpose. And that purpose is what keeps me going today. I mean, Jim and Crystal don't need any more houses or cars or anything. You know, if there's something we want, we already got it. But, you know, we started a scholarship fund. We've sent 500 kids to college in 35 years. That's been an exciting journey for me. We founded the Stovall Center for Entrepreneurship. Kids from 150 nations are on campus right now getting their degrees, learning how to start and run businesses. And we've had several other, $1 million gifts that we've been able to do. And that's what motivates me. One of my goals for this, all my financial goals are giving goals. But that's what keeps me motivated. Otherwise, it's hard to get motivated if you don't want anything. It's like the refrigerator's full of food, but if you're not hungry, it don't matter. And money is a tool, and it'll give you everything you want, but it'll help you to help others change the world. And those things are what matter to me, the people whose lives we've been able to step up and change.
Now, the ultimate productivity, this book is hot. If you're out there and you're saying, I want to become a more productive person. I've got one person in my office who I'm thinking of right now who's very productive, great energy, very productive. She is a diligent person. I'm thinking of one guy in my office right now, good guy, Jim, very productive. He's getting stuff done. But, at the end of the day, when you get to your personal limit on what you can get done, you have to learn how to become more productive. And in your book, Ultimate Productivity, you talk about things like, hey, plan for having a bad day and not a bad life by buying enough insurance. There's not a lot of books out there telling people to buy enough insurance. There's a lot of practical tips in your book, Ultimate Productivity. Could you tell us about Ultimate Productivity and what inspired you to write that book?
Well, so many people, once they have a goal, they know what they want to do. They don't know how to do it. They're all dressed up. They got nowhere to go. And productivity is nothing more than meaningful progress toward a worthwhile goal. That's all it is. But you got to have the goal. You got to know where you're going. And just because you're going fast doesn't mean anything. We can go out here to the Interstate 44, runs right through Tulsa, and you see a guy going 80 miles an hour. You think, man, he's making good progress. Only if he's going the right way. I mean, if he's going the wrong direction, he's getting further and further from his goal very, very quickly. And you can only measure your progress, your productivity, if you know what it is you're trying to do. And then we break it down into motivation, communication, and implementation. Motivation is critical. It's got to be something you care about. It's got to be something you have passion for, because if you don't, you'll be competing against people that do. And, they'll beat you every time. You cannot compete in something you don't care about. So motivation is critical. Communication is, none of us is an island, Clay. We don't succeed on our own. We put together a dream team of people who share our vision and we share theirs, and collectively we all get where we want to go. But if you can't have that vision and communicate it, you can't succeed. And finally, implementation. Man, you got to pull the trigger. We live in a world, Clay, when it's all said and done, there's an awful lot said and very little done. And a lot of people, they just never got started. And they're sitting at home, they're waiting for all the lights to be green before they leave their house. And, success is about doing the right thing next and the next thing right. And people say, well, I don't know what to do all the way. Well, no, but do you know the next thing to do? Do that, and then you'll know the next thing to do and the next thing to do. And then one of my mentors, the legendary Coach John Wooden, told me, he said, Jim, if I could only tell my players one thing, it's quite simply this. Every time you do anything, whether you go to practice, you go to class, you're meeting someone, you're talking to Clay Clark on the radio, whatever it is you're doing, before you start, you ask yourself one simple question. What would I do right now if I were amazing? Not good enough, not adequate, not meet expectations. What would I do if I was amazing? Because if you'll do the next thing on your list as if you were amazing, and the thing after that, and the thing after that, pretty soon you realize, man, I had an amazing day. And then I had an amazing week, and then I had an amazing year. And someday you look back and say, man, I had an amazing life. There it is right there. And you don't just create an amazing life. It's one thing at a time. You do the next thing right and the right things next. And success, becoming a millionaire is nothing out of the norm. I mean, you mentioned Stanley's book, The Millionaire Next Door. it's so amazing because millionaires are ordinary people that focus in right directions and they do the right things. But it's a matter of doing the right thing time after time after time over a long period of time. It's like a farmer. You just can't go out and have a great day one day and have a tremendous crop. No, you got to go to work all year, and you do the right things, and then all of a sudden you have that. And then we talk about leveraging. The way you become more successful is you leverage your energy. You do things you don't get paid for, so that someday you get paid for things you didn't do. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you realize, I can never catch up. My money's making more money than I make by far. I mean, I can have a great year and I don't even come close to what my money generates. When I was poor and in debt, you'd go to the mailbox and Crystal would get out the deal, and it would show how much we owed. And I couldn't believe that compounding interest piles up on you. And I remember thinking, I cannot believe we owe that much money. Well, compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world. It works the other way. So now you go and we get our brokerage statements and our hedge funds and the things, and you look at it and you think, I cannot believe we have this much money. Is this even possible? Because it grows, and it grows exponentially. It's the snowball rolling down the hill. The further it goes, the bigger it gets, the faster it is.
Jim, I'm going to bring on here Jackie. Jackie's in our office. Background, this guy serves in the United States military. He serves in the military. He's also a guy who can maintain any kind of vehicle. So if you have a vehicle problem, Jim, in the next week or two, you just call Jackie. He can fix almost any kind of vehicle, foreign and domestic. He can also fight the bad guys in the U.S. military. And he's a hard worker, great member of our team. Jackie, what question do you have for Jim Stovall, sir?
A question I have is, do you have a schedule that you follow every day? And what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, Jackie, great question. First of all, thank you for your service to our country. It's people like you that make everything entrepreneurs and millionaires do possible. I mean, you can't build a castle, you can't build a mansion unless somebody's standing on the wall making sure it's safe and secure. So thank you for that. Yeah, I have a schedule I work on every day, and I'm up at 4. I do my exercise, I do my reading, I do my meditation, my quiet time, my study, and then Miss Crystal emerges at about 6:30, and that's quite a sacrifice for me. She does that. Crystal's one of those people. She believes if God wanted us to see the sunrise, He'd have brought it up later in the day, and that's just. She's a very creative person, a great author in her own right, very successful. But she gets up, and then we spend an hour together every morning. No exceptions. And no phones, no TV, no nothing. We sit and talk. We drink our coffee, we sit and talk, and we go over what's on her schedule for today, what's on mine, and then we talk about things that matter. Because, Jackie, a number of years ago, I came home from the office, and I was so excited, and I told her, hey, that thing I've been working on all year finally came through today. And I had an epiphany as I realized she has no idea what I'm talking about. And we had just failed to communicate, and I decided that isn't going to happen. So from that day to this, we spend an hour together every morning, without exception. And I also realized at that time my parents lived 3 miles from my home, and I hadn't seen them in 3 months. And I corrected that, and from that day until the day they passed, just a few years ago, once a week minimum, I had dinner with them, and I talked to them both on the phone every day without exception, because these are people I love, and these are people that are important in your life. I'm here in my home office, and across the room from me there's a poster my staff bought me. And even though I can't read it, it says success is, and then it lists 30 attributes of success. Number 1 is marry the right person. If you get that right, success is more attainable. You get that wrong, it's tough to be good at anything. So, take care of the family and all the things you do. And then Jackie, they pick me up, and I go to the office over on Memorial, and then I go through my calendar. What are the things I'm going to do? And we actually put it on a yellow pad. We're high tech. I put it on a yellow pad, and it's my short list for the day. These are the things I got to get done today. And then I go through each of them. If I could only do one thing today, what would I do? And if I could only do 2 things today, what would I do? And Then I look at the things that have hard times on them. I twice a week I do national radio shows, and they know, okay, at 11 o'clock on Mondays, Jim does the radio show. 8:30 on Tuesdays, they get all those blocked out, and then I go around to my key staff, and they all have a short list like mine, and I ask them, what do you got going today? How can I help? What do you need? And when I became Entrepreneur of the Year and went to the White House, and the President's Committee gave me that, the Wall Street Journal sent a guy to shadow me for a week, and they did a story about it. And I don't think he meant it as a compliment, but it was one of the greatest ones I ever got. He said, I follow you around when you meet with your people, and all you ask is, what are they working on and how can you help? What do they need? And you go get them stuff. And he said, if I didn't know you were in charge, I wouldn't know you owned this company. I said, thank you very much. I don't know. I'm not here to boss these people around. They know what to do. You get motivated people that are pulling in the same direction, you do that. And so those are my main scheduling things. And the big scheduling things are, before the year starts, I have family obligations and my family reunion and different things I do, and I block those out. And then I generally try to get some time when Crystal and I can spend some time, and that gets blocked out, and that is sacred. But it usually works around an event I'm doing. Twice a year, I go to a little island in Mission Bay off the coast of San Diego, and I do an event there. And I'm on stage for 2 hours, and Crystal and I spend 4 days there. And we have a house on the beach that I've stayed in over 50 times, twice a year. And so we get these little mini vacations that corporate America gets to pay for, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I even got to instruct the Internal Revenue Service on it, because they said, you can't take your wife and write it off as a business expense. I said, I'm a blind guy, and she stays in my room. If I take one of my staff, which I often do, I got to get 2 rooms. I'm going to write them both off. So which way you guys like it? I mean, Crystal's saving you guys some money. And so they left me alone. So, the schedule is really important. It's a great question, because, at the end of the day, that's all we have is our time, and you leverage it. We trade our time for money, and we create value in the marketplace. And the only way you make money, the only people that make money work at the United States Mint. They make money. They print dollar bills. The rest of us have to earn money, and the only way you earn money is by creating value in the lives of other people. So you work and you trade your time for money, but then through other people and through technology and things, you can leverage. And then it's not just 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1 equals 10. It begins to multiply. And so, great question. The schedule is important, because at the end of the day, that's all we got. And when you put your head on the pillow tonight, you better be able to look back at some real great progress, because whatever you did, you traded 1 day of your life to get it, and it better be worth it.
Now, Jim, we're going to go into rapid fire mode. I'm going to try to ask you 5 questions in the final 15 minutes if we can here. So this is McKenna now. She was also born yesterday, and she does a great job in our office. These are both Jackie and McKenna, very productive people. McKenna, what question would you have for Jim Stovall?
Hello. So in waking up one day having lost your vision, I'm sure you could have taken this circumstance and it could have easily led to bitterness, but you chose to turn it into betterness. So I was wanting to know what mindset shift or decision helped you turn the situation into betterness, and then what advice would you give to others when life doesn't necessarily go as planned?
Well, I will tell you, McKenna, I wish I could tell you I just immediately got on top of it. I didn't. I moved into a little 9 by 12 foot room in my house I thought I'd never get out of. And it took me a while, several weeks or months before I got on top of it. But I realized I can't, whatever it is out there I'm afraid of cannot be worse than spending the rest of my life in this little room. So the first day I got out of the room, I didn't make millions of dollars or win an Emmy Award or write a best-selling book or make a movie. I walked 52 feet to the mailbox. And that was the day that changed my life, because when I got to the mailbox, my foot touched the curb right there at the edge of my street. And even though I had lived in that house for over a decade as a sighted person, I discovered something at that moment I hadn't known before. I discovered I live on a magical street. And that street that it took me those weeks and months to get to, it led to another street, which intersected with another street, which connected to another street that would take me anywhere in the world I wanted to go. And it did, and it has, and it still does today. And I spend my life through my books and speeches and movies making sure everybody knows they live on a magical street. And wherever it is you want to go, it starts right where you are.
Now, Jim, my next question I have here for you is I have a client that just left my office today. I'll be kind of vague, but he's in the mortgage industry. I won't mention his name, but he's in the mortgage industry. And I won't mention his middle name. I'll just say his name is Steve Currington. I won't mention his middle name. No, I wouldn't want to do that, Jim. I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I'll just say Steve Currington. Won't mention the middle name. But Steve Currington and I were having this discussion a while back, and Steve was saying, Clay, it is crazy that I've hired you as my mentor 10 years ago, and you tell me what to do, I find time to do it, and now my business is booming. And he said, it's crazy how Clay, I'm hiring you as an advisor to teach me what to do. I find the time to do it, and it works. But he said, yet other people in my industry can't find the time to get the things done that work, and they can't get the results. And I said, Steve, this is a profound idea. Steve said, so much so, I'm going to have one of my competitors reach out to you with my full blessing to compete directly with me in my own marketplace, and I bet you they will experience almost zero results with the same resources that you have and I have. The same resources that I have, Clay, I'm going to give to them. Just my own little case study to see, because Steve believes that success is not about resourcefulness, or that success is not about resources, but success is about resourcefulness. Again, Steve believes that success is not about resources, it's about resourcefulness. I want to get your thoughts on this, Steve. What do you say to somebody out there that just can't seem to find the time to write the content for their website, or call their leads, or ask actual, people to leave them an objective review, or some of the, basic tasks that need to be happening? What do you say to somebody who just can't seem to find the time?
Well, we all have the same amount of time, and people confuse activity with productivity. We've all seen the little mouse running around on the wheel in the cage. A lot of activity, no productivity. An hour from now, he'll still be on the same wheel doing the same thing. And you've got to look at what are the things I can do right now that are going to move the needle. And the best way to figure that out, don't guess about it. Ask somebody that's been where you want to go. When you're climbing up the mountain, the person to ask is not the guy next to you. It's the person that's been to the summit and he's on the way down. And you want to say, excuse me, how did you get up there? How did you do that? And, my phone number's in 10 million books. I'm excited to share the blessings I have with other people, just as you are, Clay. I mean, it's a thrill to be able to share this with other people. And that's why I have the Stovall Center for Entrepreneurship. And, to be able to share with these kids, hey, I did this by the time I was 30 or 35. You can do it by the time you're 25, because you're not going to fall in this same hole I fell in and have to find a way out. The best way around that is to go around it. I mean, we learn answers to problems by facing the problems. We can either go through it ourselves, or we can say, hold it. Clay fell in that mess, and I think I'd just soon not do that. And and people that don't have the time, they'll find another excuse. It's an excuse. We don't have the busiest people I know return their calls the quickest. They get things done. They meet the deadlines. They do the things they have to do because they can control themselves. And, one of the big myths in the world is time management. We don't manage time. We manage ourselves. And you've got to be able to take control of yourself and apply yourself to the things you want to do. I just finished a book about Mark Twain, writing it. It's one of my historicals where he shows up in the 21st century and interacts with some people about his perspective. But he said two things that made me a Twain fan forever. One, he said the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. And then the second thing he said about your priorities, your scheduling, your time, he said, if it's your job in this life to eat a live frog every day, eat him early in the morning, get it out of the way. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs every day, eat the big one first. And that's something people don't do. they have things on their list they don't want to do, so they procrastinate and they horse around and they get all caught up in all the social media and stuff they shouldn't be doing, and they never do it. No, get up early and get that junk out of the way now, and then get on down the road and do the things you need to do.
Okay, Jackie. Again, Jackie works as a consultant. His job here, Jim, is people hire us to help them grow their company, and his job is to teach people the proven path. So, Jackie, what question would you have for Jim Stovall? Maybe on behalf of a new client or maybe a potential client in the future.
So a question I have is, what would you say to someone who is procrastinating on a task they need to get done? What can they do to get on top of that?
Well, I mean, I would say do it, get it out of the way, get it done, and a lot of that is putting other people around you. I have a dream team, I have an accountability group I work with, and they know what I'm doing, and and I'm just not going to let them down. I've made a commitment, And the thing is, Jackie, once I write something down, that's a commitment I've made to me. If I'll lie to me, I'll lie to you. And the important thing is, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And one of my first mentors in business, when I was a teenager, 18, 19 years old, I was a student at ORU, and Lee Braxton, who was a self-made millionaire, made $10 million during the Great Depression and lived off that the rest of his life, gave most of it away. I said, what's the real secret? This is back when I thought there was a magic pill. And I said, what's the real secret? I mean, let's go behind the curtain, get through the smoke and mirrors here. What do you really do to be rich? What's the secret that nobody's telling me? He said, you really want it? I said, yeah. He said, you going to write this down? I said, yeah, I'll write it down right here. He said, you always do what you say you're going to do. And I kept, well, yeah, but where's come on, where's the secret? How do you print money? How does it work? He said, you do what you say you're going to do. Number one, you'll be very careful what you say because you know you're going to do it. And number two, you'll become known as a person of integrity, and that's who everybody will stand in line to do business with. You always do what you say you're going to do. Well, Jackie, if I write something on my list, that's a commitment I made to me, and that's really important. All integrity starts with the commitments we made to ourselves.
Final question I have here for you, and then I'll go to McKenna here. I just want to kind of tee it up here. Is the purpose of my show and my broadcast for entrepreneurs is I want to help every entrepreneur out there achieve their goals. That's my goal. And I think about we have a wonderful client by the name of Jana. I think, McKenna, you work with Jana. She's a hard worker, great lady. And it's like, if I could clone Jana, it's not ethical. I don't want to do that. But just figuratively speaking, she's a woman who wants to know what to do and then does it. And she seeks wisdom, Jim. This is a woman who seeks wisdom. She's an entrepreneur. She has a successful company in the South. She's seeking that wisdom. She's seeking that knowledge. She wants to know. She's just saying, show me what to do and I'll do it. So, McKenna, what would you say? What question would you have on behalf of wonderful people like Jana, who you have the opportunity to serve and help coach and lead down a path? What question would you have for Jim?
What do successful people do differently when pressure starts to get heavy?
They persevere, and the pressure is external, and I get to decide what I'm going to do all day, every day. I remember when I was training to be an Olympic weightlifter, and my coach got a giant poster of the great Russian weightlifter Vasily Alexiev. He's the world champion, and I knew at some point, if I went far enough, I'd be competing with him. And, and there are days you come in, and, my back's killing me, the knee's not working, things aren't working. He would just turn and point to the poster. He says, wonder how he's feeling today. What do you think he's doing today? Today's the day. You get up, you either do it or you don't. And, excuses are excuses, but you either do it or you don't. And I remember when I was wanting to play football, I went to the University of Alabama on a recruiting trip, and I met the great Bear Bryant. And he and I walked down the field, and he knew I wasn't going to go to the University of Alabama, but I wanted to meet him, so that's why I went. And we walked down to the goal line, and there's the place on the 2-yard line where you go for a 2-point conversion. And he tossed me the ball, and he said, let me explain something to you, son. You hand people the ball here. There are two kinds of people in the world. There's people that will get that ball in the end zone, and there's people that won't. And they may be just as strong, just as big, just as fast. They just don't get it done. And make sure you're the kind of guy that gets the ball in the end zone, and make sure you're around the same kind of people that do that. Because, we live in a tough world. There's always a way to get something done. There's always a reason to perform, and there's always an excuse. You get to choose. I mean, there's a lot of great excuses. Hey, you're talking to a blind guy. I write books I can't read that are turned into movies I can't watch. I get it. Life's not easy. But at some point, you either do or you don't. You either got the ball in the end zone or you didn't. I mean, at the end of the day, they put the score on the big scoreboard, and it doesn't say it was tough, it was easy, whatever. You either did or you didn't. And so you get to that point, and it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, the pressure, the things around you, they really don't matter. And of course, you got to feed your mind. That's why the early morning, the motivation, the inspiration, having your quiet time, doing the things you need to do, so you're prepared for that. You just can't watch the regular network news and talk to 19 out of 20 negative people in the world and think you're going to be mentally prepared. You're not. You've got to feed your mind with the pure and the powerful and the positive things, and then you can go do whatever you need to do.
Jim, I just cannot tell you how much I appreciate you carving out time for our listeners. And if you're out there today and you don't hate yourself, now if you hate yourself, this doesn't apply to you, but if you don't hate yourself, go to jimstovall.com and you're going to find 60 plus books that Jim has written, 60 plus books he's written. A New York Times best-selling author, multiple time Emmy Award winner, a Jim Stovall movie producer, movie writer. There's so much I could say. Successful entrepreneur, a friend. These are all accolades I could say to describe you, Jim. But I encourage everybody out there to check out your website. And if you're looking for one Jim Stovall, you say, Clay, what's the one Jim Stovall book you'd recommend? I personally would say The Millionaire Map is book number 1. I would recommend, to be bilingually sensitive. And if you say, what's book number 2? Give me 2. I highly recommend Ultimate Productivity. I love it. And it's incredible. If you say book number 3, what's the trifecta? I always like to tell people The Ultimate Gift is a great book. But Jim, I'm going to give you the final word. What do you want to say to our listeners out there that are eagerly taking notes, sir?
Well, I want to thank you and your team there for giving me an opportunity to talk. And I want to thank you guys for the commitment you've made to entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs make the world go around. And often in my speeches, I say everybody in the world works for an entrepreneur or is an entrepreneur, no exceptions. And I was in Washington, D.C. last year talking to our elected officials on Capitol Hill. I'm on the floor of the House. And I said, everybody in the world is either an entrepreneur or they work for one. And afterwards, a congressman approached me and proving that anyone can get elected in America. And he said, Jim, I don't work for an entrepreneur. I work for the government. I said, where do you think all this came from, Hoss? I mean, are you kidding me? You work here because money was confiscated from entrepreneurs or the people who work for entrepreneurs, and that's how you get paid. I mean, you definitely work for an entrepreneur, and you take a little bite out of every entrepreneur's earnings or the people that work for them. And I'm not saying that's not an honorable profession. If you do a good job up here, it's great, but do not kid yourself. The government has no money. It's all created by entrepreneurs. So I want to thank you and your team for what you do in entrepreneurship. And, and I would tell everybody out there, if you have a dream, a goal, an ambition, or something, go do it. I mean, the dream would not have been put inside of you if you didn't have the capacity to achieve it. So the question is never can we. The question is will we? And your future lies in the balance. And Clay, I want to thank you and your people for leading the way, showing the way, and taking people's hand and leading them to the mountaintop.
Jim Stovall, you're a great American. My daughter goes to Oral Roberts University right now, and so she's a senior, and so I'm going to make her come by and harass you because she needs to experience all that is Jim Stovall. We see her name on the buildings at Oral Roberts University, but I want her to meet you personally, and thank you for all the work you've done at Oral Roberts University. Again, thank you so much, sir, and we'll talk to you soon.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
You could be anywhere doing a lot of different things, but you chose to be here. And you chose to go somewhere. You said, man, I can go and I can get better. I can go and I can learn. I can go and I can maybe go from where I'm at to where I want to go. But one of the most important things that you will ever do or not do in your life is to value and seek wise counsel. To be coached hard means you have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
But that Clay Clark, man, he is one character. it's a good word for him. Character. Yeah, that is it.
Good, driven, smart. And I've never met a guy who was so hyper all the time. He's doing so much good. And then I met his mother, and she just says, she just lets him be Clay Clark. I mean, so he's endorsed by his mother, and he's doing magnificent work. So it was great meeting you out there and all the people that he surrounds himself with. Clay Clark starts his days at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, he's a machine. He's a machine.
Yeah. But I have problems with my company starting at 9 o'clock. Yes, hundreds of people showing up at 5 a.m. in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Man, he's a leader of a leader. He's a fantastic young man.
Oh, he is. He is.
My name is Kevin Thomas, and the name of our company is MultiClean. We are a commercial janitorial service, and we serve the entire state of Oklahoma and Kansas and soon to be Arkansas. We have probably grown probably 5 times. We've added, I think when we first started with you, we had 60 to 65 employees. And now we have a little over 300 employees. Before we got involved with Thrivetime, we didn't really have any systems or processes in place. I've probably been to, in 6-7 years, I've probably been to 12 to 13 business conferences. And amazingly, each time I go, I learn something new, and I'm so excited to bring it back and show the team about marketing and how to implement, how to help you guys implement the SEO. And the coaching is just great because there's accountability, and it's just a fantastic way to grow your company. Having a relationship with Thrivetime it's just been amazing for MultiClean. Oh my goodness, it frees me up because then I don't have to take a class on search engine optimization or learn marketing or shoot video. That's not what we do. What we do is commercial janitorial service. And you guys are the experts on marketing, and you teach me and hold my hand and show me how to do it right. And therefore, now my company is much, much larger.
Folks, on today's show, we're joined by a real client. He may look like a male model. He may look like a hologram, but he's a real person. He's a longtime client. He's a man that we consider to be a friend of the Thrivetime Show and a friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Kevin. Welcome on to the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
Clay, I'm doing great. Had a great Christmas holiday, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so first question, can you tell us what is your name, first and last name, and what's the name of your company, sir?
My name is Kevin Thomas, and the name of our company is MultiClean. We are a commercial janitorial service, and we serve the entire state of Oklahoma and Kansas and soon to be Arkansas.
And how long have we worked with you approximately at this point, sir?
It's been about 6-7 years.
And, so many people reach out to me. I mean, literally every day. I just talked to a woman this morning. We get 10 to 20 people a day that reach out wanting to see if we can help them grow their companies. And we only work with 160 clients. And I do that because I want to only work with people that are super coachable. And so this woman on the call today was asking me, she said, well, what's the most important thing that you do, that you have to do to grow your company? And I was telling her, I said, that's kind of like asking a skilled chef, what's the most important ingredient to make great cookies? Is it flour? Is it eggs? Is it butter? It's like asking a home builder, what's the most important component to building a house? Is it the footings? Is it the frame? Is it the concrete? That's like asking, it's a great question, but really it's all of it. And so I really wanted to talk to you today about all of it, implementing all of it, growing MultiClean, how we've been able to do it. So first off, could you share what it's like to have a coach that works with you every week who's committed to helping you improve your business by 1 or 2% every week?
Well, Andrew is my coach. And the great thing about having him as the coach is he keeps me accountable. Because sometimes when you're the owner, there's no one to be accountable to. And he keeps me on track. He keeps me tracking sales, tracking wins, If we have a loss, he helps me figure out what happened. He just keeps me being consistent with our processes, with our systems, which before we got involved with Thrivetime, we didn't really have any systems or processes in place.
And in terms of growth over these past 6 or 7 years, I'm not looking for you to share the actual sales totals because you're a larger company at this point. But could you share how much growth have you had over the past 6 or 7 years?
We have probably grown probably 5 times. We've added. I think when we first started with you, we had 60 to 65 employees, and now we have a little over 300 employees.
So just to be clear, I'm making sure I'm taking notes here. You've grown 5 times, and you've grown from how many employees to how many employees?
About 60, 65 to well over 300.
What do you say to somebody who's thinking about coming to our next workshop with Eric Trump or Robert Kiyosaki or Tim Tebow or whatever workshop we have coming up? What do you say to somebody who's on the fence right now? They're going, I'm thinking about scheduling a 13-point assessment. I'm thinking about buying a ticket for an in-person workshop. Kevin, what do you say to them?
I would say do both. I've probably been to, in 6, 7 years, I've probably been to 12 to 13 business conferences. And amazingly, each time I go, I learn something new. And I'm so excited to bring it back and show the team about marketing and how to implement, how to help you guys implement the SEO. And the coaching is just great because there's accountability. And it's just a fantastic way to grow your company. Having a relationship with Thrivetime it's just been amazing for MultiClean.
I don't know that we talked about it, but we do the photography, video, web, search engine, online ads. From a peace of mind perspective, what does that do for you as an owner, knowing that, hey, it's a flat rate I'm paying, and I have a team that handles all of that for me, the graphic design, the photography, the search engine, the web development, the strategy. What does that do for you?
Oh my goodness, it frees me up because then I don't have to take a class on search engine optimization or learn marketing or shoot video. That's not what we do. What we do is commercial janitorial service. And you guys are the experts on marketing, and you teach me and hold my hand and show me how to do it right. And therefore now my company is much, much larger.
Kevin, I really do appreciate your time. For anybody in the Oklahoma area, anybody in Kansas, I believe you said Kansas, Oklahoma. What other states are you in now, Kevin?
We're in Oklahoma and southern Kansas, and this in 2025, we are looking to open an office in Northwest Arkansas.
I encourage everybody out there, check out the website right now. I'll pull it up one more time, folks. That website is multicleanok.com. That's multicleanok.com. If you're looking for a commercial cleaning service that you can trust, go to multicleanok.com. Kevin, thank you so much for your time, sir, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Clay.
Bye-bye.
One of the things that really hurt Apple was after I left, John Scully got a very serious disease. And that disease, I've seen other people get it too. It's the disease of thinking that a really great idea is 90% of the work. And that if you just tell all these other people, here's this great idea, then of course they can go off and make it happen. And the problem with that is that there's just a tremendous amount of craftsmanship in between a great idea and a great product.
Clay Clark is here somewhere. Where's my buddy Clay? Clay's the greatest. I met his goats today. I met his dogs. I met his chickens. I saw his compound. He's like the greatest guy.
I ran from his goats, his chickens, his dogs.
So this guy's like the greatest marketer you've ever seen, right? His entire life, Clay Clark, his entire life is marketing.
Hi, I'm Aaron Antis with Shaw Homes. I first heard about Clay through a mortgage lender here in town who had told me what a great job he had been doing for them, and I actually noticed he was driving a Lamborghini all of a sudden, so I was willing to listen. In my career, I've sold a little over $800 million in real estate. So honestly, I thought I kind of knew everything about marketing and homes. And then I met Clay, and my perception of what I knew and what I could do definitely changed. After doing $800 million in sales over a 15-year career, I really thought I knew what I was doing. I've been managing a large team of salespeople for the last 10 years here with Shaw Homes. And I mean, we've been a company that's been in business for 35 years. We've become one of the largest builders in the Tulsa area, and that was without Clay. So when I came to know Clay, I really thought, man, there's not much more I need to know, but I'm willing to listen. The interesting thing is our internet leads from our website has actually, in a 4-month period of time, has gone from somewhere around 10 to 15 leads in a month to 180 internet leads in a month. Just from the few things that he's shown us how to implement that I honestly probably never would have come up with on my own. So I got a lot of good things to say about the system that Clay put in place with us, and it's just been an incredible experience. I am very glad that we met and had the opportunity to work with Clay. So the interaction with the team and with Clay on a weekly basis is honestly very enlightening. One of the things that I love about Clay's perspective on things is that he doesn't come from my industry. He's not somebody who's in the home building industry. I've listened to all the experts in my field. Our company has paid for me to go to seminars, international builder shows, all kinds of places where I've had the opportunity to learn from the experts in my industry. But the thing that I found working with Clay is that he comes from such a broad spectrum of working with so many different types of businesses that he has a perspective that's difficult for me to gain because I get so entrenched in what I do, I'm not paying attention to what other leading industry experts are doing, and Clay really brings that perspective for me. It is very valuable time every week when I get that hour with him. From my perspective, the reason that any business owner who's thinking about hooking up with Thrive needs to definitely consider it is because the results that we've gotten in a very short period of time are honestly monumental. It has really exceeded my wildest expectation of what he might be able to do. I came in skeptical because I'm very pragmatic, and as I've gone through the process over just a few months, I've realized it's probably one of the best moves we've ever made. I think a lot of people probably feel like they don't need a business or marketing consultant because they maybe are a little bit prideful and like to think they know everything. I know that's how I felt coming in. I mean, we're a big company that's definitely one of the largest in town. And so we kind of felt like we knew what we were doing. And I think for a lot of people, they let their ego get in the way of listening to somebody that might have a better or different perspective than theirs. I would just really encourage you, if you're thinking about working with Clay, I mean, the thing is, it's month to month. Go give it a try and see what happens. I think in the 35-year history of Shaw Homes, this is probably the best thing that's happened to us. And I know if you give them a shot, I think you'll feel the same way. I know for me, the thing I would have missed out on if I didn't work with Clay is I would have missed out on literally an 1,800% increase in our internet leads. Going from 10 a month to 180 a month, that would have been a huge financial decision to just decide not to give it a shot. I would absolutely recommend Clay Clark to anybody who's thinking about working with somebody in marketing. I would skip over anybody else you were thinking about, and I would go straight to Clay and his team. I guarantee you're not going to regret it because we sure haven't.
Clay, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And as they say in Stoic, the obstacle is the way. And so if you let these pinheads get in your way, you're in trouble.
Robert, one of the things that you said on multiple interviews, multiple times, and every time you said it, I thought to myself, have I not been paying attention? Because it felt like new information to me the first time I heard it, which is probably the 50th time I'd heard it. You said octa non verba. And maybe the first time you said it, I was driving while I'm, listening to the podcast while driving. And maybe I was half paying attention, but octa non verba. And then it was like almost like an angelic moment for me. Ah! and octa non verba. And once I finally understood what it meant and what you were saying and how it could be used, I think it was life-changing for me and how I approach business. Could you explain octa non verba, what it means and how our listeners can apply it?
Clay, you gave me goosebumps, man. I'm glad it hit you as hard as it did. Octa non verba is the motto of the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy at Kings Point, New York. I had appointments with Naval Academy and Kings Point Merchant Marine Academy. And Merchant Marine Academy's motto was octa non verba. In other words, don't listen to what a person says. Watch what they do. Clay, my honor to be on your show. And thank you for all you do. I hear the ripple effects from you are good ripple effects. You know what I mean? People rave about what they learn from you. So congratulations.